Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Lewis, a reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks for coming on once again.
Thanks for having me on once again, Brittany. Appreciate it.
You have a wild new report, and I'm just going to read the headline here. It is this, quote, latest witness in Trump trial is controversial attorney with ties to Trump's billionaire bondsman and Charlie Sheen. Reads like a Mad Libs a bit. It's very wild ride reading that. So let's start at the very beginning of the headline. Who is this controversial attorney, Keith Davidson?
He is based out of Beverly Hills. He has his own shop there. His name might be familiar to viewers. He's been around for a while, representing a lot of high-profile cases. He was on ABC's Good Morning America back in the day when he was representing a woman who was found in Charlie Sheen's hotel room when Sheen had that alleged I don't even know what you call it, but whatever Charlie Sheen did, she was there. He represented Stormy Daniels. He represented Karen McDougal. So he's been around for a little bit. He got sued by Hulk Hogan over Hulk Hogan's sex tape, settled that one. So he's certainly somebody who's handled some high profile cases and not necessarily the most reputable of cases either.
We saw him on the witness stand Tuesday. Right before you and I talked, he was on the witness stand again today. How did he find himself as a witness for the prosecution in the Trump hush money trial?
He was the original attorney for both Daniels and McDougal when they separately tried to negotiate hush money payments from Trump. So he was the one who was interacting directly with Michael Cohen. He testified that he'd never met Trump, but all of his interactions there were with Cohen. So he was on the stand to testify about his involvement there.
Like I said, he was on the stand Tuesday, back again on Thursday. Did he say any revealing? Can you characterize what his time on the stand was like?
The first part when he was with the prosecution and was being questioned there, the thought was it wasn't good for Trump. He certainly made it clear, Davidson, this is certainly made it clear that he was under the impression this was all happening at the behest of Trump. Trump was aware of it. Michael Cohen wasn't any sort of rogue agent or anything like that. And also that these transactions were being done to protect Trump because he was running for president, which is kind of what's at the heart of this case. Now, today, when the defense had a little bit of a poke at him, they started questioning him about a lot of his past clients, about getting sued for a Hulk. I guess he'd been investigated a couple times for extortion. No charges were ever filed. Charlie Sheen actually alleged that he had tried to extort him as well. So they kind of went after his reputation a little bit here today. And I mean, it was just a few hours. I think there's more they probably could have dug into there. But for whatever reason, the DA decided to move on. Or excuse me, the defense rather decided to move on.
That was today, but take us back to 2016 when he found himself representing both Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal.
So it didn't end well. McDougal got a $150,000 payment, but felt she kind of got stiffed by the deal she had signed to write some articles. Stormy Daniels got $130,000. She later alleged in court that Davidson had really neglected his job as her attorney. It was instead really working more on behalf of Trump and Cohen. So she sued both Cohen and Davidson, and they settled. And McDougal did not sue Davidson, but she did make similar accusations against him in a lawsuit she filed against the parent company, the National Enquirer.
So they both thought that he was working on behalf of Trump. Is Davidson a Trump supporter now? Was he then? Did he want Trump to be president? What does that look like?
Well, he texted, "What have we done?" on election night. So who knows there? He said that it was just kind of a joke that he sent it. But he doesn't seem to be, much. This was not done for hardcore Donald Trump reasons.
So let's now move on to the second part of the headline. Davidson has ties with Trump's billionaire bondsman, Don Hanky. You and I talked about Don Hanky before, but remind our viewers who he is.
Don Hanky is the billionaire CEO of the company that underwrote the bond that Trump used for bail in his New York civil trial. So remember, there was the whole question of, is Trump going to have to sell properties or not? Who's going to loan any money to him? And it was Don Hanky. I spoke with Hanky shortly after that became public. He said he had never met Trump, that he was a little bit of a supporter, but just really thought it was a good business deal.
So he just never met Trump, little bit of a supporter. Does he have any other relationship with Trump's businesses or anything like that?
He is the largest shareholder of Axos Bank, which used to be the bank of the internet, and it is who Donald Trump turned to for refinancing both Trump Tower in New York and his Miami area resort. There was a question a couple years ago of how is he going to get out of all this debt that's coming due, and the answer was Axos Bank.
So now bring us to how Hanky and Davidson, the attorney, are connected.
Yeah, so I found out about this shortly after I published the article where I spoke to Hanky, and somebody just tweeted at me like, you should check out this case involving his son. And it was a lawsuit that three Jane Does filed in April of 2020, alleging that Hanky's son, Don Rufus Hanky, who goes by Rufus, had allegations of sexual assault, forced trafficking, and that he also gave them several sexually transmitted diseases.
And was Don Hanky, Rufus's dad, was he involved in that lawsuit at all?
No evidence that he was. Rufus's attorney said he wasn't. Somebody else with knowledge of the case said he wasn't. And then Don Hanky also said he was not. Rufus Hanky left the family business about 10 years ago. And Don said he and his son only see each other about once every 2 years.
And so now is Keith Davidson involved in this lawsuit anymore at all?
No, he's not. So he filed the suit on behalf of the three Jane Does. And I should make clear that Rufus Hanky has fought this tooth and nail throughout the last couple of years. He has denied the allegations. He has filed a countersuit. And it was in 2022, two of the three Jane Does agreed to a stipulated judgment with Rufus Hanky, in which both cases were dropped, both the complaint and the cross complaint, in exchange for no money. It showed, if you look at the court docs, it said no money was changed. I talked to somebody else familiar with the case, and they said that there was no private settlement or anything like this. These two women just dropped the case, and shortly thereafter, Davidson put in a notice that he wanted to quit the case as well. So we have one Jane Doe. Jane Doe number one is still pursuing these allegations, and the judge just recently rejected Rufus Hanky's move to get the case dropped. So it is moving on to trial in late May, and Jane Doe number one is representing herself.
I know we don't know why, but is it normal for people to drop a case, settle essentially without getting any money in return?
It seems like this might have been a situation where Davidson wanted to cut his losses. The potential payout of a verdict with three plaintiffs is going to be a lot higher than with one. And it might just have been one of the, is this the best use of his time? But I don't know for sure. He would not talk to us on the record.
And now let's talk about the last part of the headline, Charlie Sheen. How is attorney Keith Davidson involved here? You mentioned it at the beginning, but dive a little deeper there for us.
Yep, got a little bit ahead of myself. The headline couldn't go into chronological order. Getting that headline together was really a work of art that required the help of three other people. A lot of keywords put in there. He represented a woman who was a pornographic actress who was in Charlie Sheen's room when he had that infamous meltdown. I guess it was in about 2010, and he represented Sheen on he represented the woman on an appearance where they were both on Good Morning America.
And in general, what clientele does Davidson have? What types of cases really is he taking on?
Pretty similar to what we've just described. The Smoking Gun website wrote a profile of him several years ago with a headline, "Celeb Dirt to be Sold, You Better Call Keith." There was the Charlie Sheen case there. He advertises that he secures big payouts for sexual assault, STG transmission, and negligence. And this is what his business is. He's not looking at white collar crime so much as this kind of stuff.
Stormy Daniels and Charlie Sheen, both high profile names now, they sued Davidson in the past. Have his ethics ever been called into question in any other instances?
He did a couple times. Again, like back in 2010, his law license was suspended by the California bar for 90 days. Some clients he had been representing in a medical malpractice came forward and complained that their case was tossed because Davidson failed to do his job. He didn't show up at hearings. He didn't file motions that he was supposed to. So he lost his law license for 90 days, an agreement that he came to. So he fought it for a little bit, but then reached a settlement. And Hulk Hogan also sued him, alleging that on behalf of his clients, Davidson tried to extort Hogan over the sex tape, and Davidson did settle that.
And he was a witness for the prosecution, Keith Davidson. Are any of his alleged actions or anything he said on the stand, is that damning to Trump? What does that look like?
Yeah, he mentioned that his recollection was that it was this was done for political reasons, and that's one of the things that the Manhattan prosecutor's office needs to prove to try to make this from just being a misdemeanor into a felony, is that it's connected to a campaign finance issue. So they've said that this is the payment to Stormy Daniels was a campaign finance violation because it was not properly reported. So Davidson was up there to show that, yes, this was campaign related. This was not Donald Trump just doing it as a private individual trying to, preserve his good name.
Zach Everson, per usual, thank you for your reporting. I appreciate the conversation.
My pleasure.